Hi, Atlanteans. It's me, Reed. Let's cut your hours that you spend in the kitchen meal prepping for your week with my essential tools. Stick around towards the end of the video as well, and I will be giving away my meal prep recipe that I am utilizing this week for a baked chicken kebab. So, meal prepping. It is something that most of us have all heard about. You may have tried it successfully or unsuccessfully. And today's video, I'm just going to go over some of the tools that I like to use to help you meal prep faster, to cut down on the clutter in our fridge, and to really try to help you reach your goals with meal prepping. I know as someone who meal preps and has for a long time, it can be extremely frustrating. It can be something that we end up not doing because of the level of effort it takes in as well. As we go through the video today, I'll be mentioning some different things. I'll have some links in the description of this video for things that I mentioned. Feel free to drop in the chat any questions that you have, and I'll try to answer them as we go along. So, meal prep essentials. We're going to go over some utensils and kind of like the core stuff that I really love first, and then I will give you some options of, hey, if you want to splurge here, here's some things that I like to use that help me move a little bit faster, but cost a little bit more money. First and foremost, a knife. This is a traditional chef's knife. This is going to be your most used tool in the kitchen when it comes to meal prep. I recommend getting a decent quality one. It doesn't have to be expensive, but just a decent quality. And with a decent handle like this that fits in your hand, go to a kitchen store, grab the chef's knife, feel how it feels in your hand. Because again, we spend a lot of time in the kitchen cutting with this knife. I know a lot of people will get like the little small ones, or I know I do. I am a quote unquote kitchen whore. I love to have a glass for everything, a knife for everything, all that. Trying to cut down on that by just focusing on one good knife. The chef knife can do essentially every other thing that any other knife can. So if you're like me in a small apartment and you're needing to cut down, I highly recommend a good chef's knife as your number one tool there. And if you're saying, Reed, I don't really know how to cut things very well, there's tons of YouTube videos that teach you proper cutting technique. I'm not going to recommend a chopper or any of the little choppers. By all means, if you do like those, you can use them. I find I can actually move a lot faster with just my chef knife chopping along than I could using any of the choppers. It just takes a little time and practice, just like any exercising does. From there, we're going to talk next about cutting boards, because every knife needs a cutting board. Do not cut on your counter. And if you use a cutting board, I highly, highly recommend using a wooden cutting board. And I actually recommend having 2 wooden cutting boards. One I use for my vegetables and everything else, and then one I use just for my meats. I do like to find a cutting board that has this little drain slip around the edge for any raw meats if you're cutting, or cooked meats, really. Even anytime there's juices, it catches there, keeps it from leaking all over your counter. And again, I try to keep them separate. One for meat, one for essentially everything else. And get you a decent size one. Don't use, again, the little baby ones. Wooden cutting boards are not allowed in the dishwasher. It is one thing that you do need to hand wash. I do also recommend hand washing your knife because it'll dull it quickly. But it is so much better. Glass cutting boards dull your knives instantly. Same thing with metal. Plastic can release a lot of plastic parts into our food. We have so much plastic anyways. So again, wooden cutting board and a good knife to start. I have so much stuff around me. All right. So from there, the next things I recommend: measuring spoons, measuring cups. Again, I like metal ones personally. Liquid measuring cups. You should be measuring your food. Actually measure your food, especially if meal prep is the goal and you're trying to lose weight. You need to be exact with knowing how much of whatever food you have is there. And going right along with this, number one thing, if you want to lose weight or you want to build muscle or really hit your goal fitness wise whatsoever, is a electronic scale. This little guy, can I turn him on? Most scales, it's because I'm holding it this way, it's going to read a little bit of something, but most scales they'll turn on. This one has grams. I can do ounces. I can even do pounds. Remember, anytime you put something on a scale, like if I want to measure something, you put your measuring cup on, you tear your scale. That's what that little button does, which means it zeroes out and takes out the account for the bowl or whatever it is that you're using. Then you pour your substance in, and that is your measurement there. In case anyone didn't do chemistry class like I did in high school and college. Fun stuff. From there, next thing I would recommend, just some other cooking utensils. Again, I'm going quick, so if you have any questions, a good silicone spatula. These things are pretty heat resistant. A like stirring spatula, and then tongs. Especially if you are using really any kind of pans. I just like these, but specifically if you are using anything that has the like no stick, the Teflon coating, you don't want to use metal and Teflon. If you didn't have parents that hate you for doing that, don't do that. It's not good for the pans. I don't have, because I just have so much stuff here. I do highly recommend a good frying pan. Again, 9-inch frying pan, your choice if you want it Teflon, stainless steel. Stainless steel can be hard to learn, but it is overall one of the best pans that you can use, or cast iron. Same thing with like a nice Dutch oven or a deep pot. Again, don't need to go super expensive with any of them, just decent quality. From there, just for the meal prepping part, when we're cutting a bunch of stuff up to make a recipe, if we're doing what is called mise en place, so it's when you're getting everything ready before you actually start to cook. I like these. You can get all of these, and I believe I have all my utensils, measuring cups, my electronic scale. Amazon, I think I got like, I want to say these all three of these sizes came in a pack, and I think it was like 5 of the little bitty ones, like 10 of these and 10 of these, which is great with lids, in case you want to meal prep or prep your stuff before you actually cook the day before, to just save time. But that is one of the big things I will say. As someone who used to be a chef in a catering company in college, do all your chopping, get everything set first, especially if you're not if you're an amateur cook. Unless you're a professional, it can be very hard. And a lot of times when we're cooking, things move fast. So you want to have everything ready to go. That way you're not in the middle of cooking and then having to chop something up. Talking about cooking and a little bit more with storage, or just like prep work. Next is nice bowls. I always like to have a set of 3. The head chef I worked under always told me, and a good rule of thumb, anytime that you are in the kitchen making something, use a bigger bowl than you think you'll need. There's nothing worse than thinking you got the perfect size bowl for what you're doing. You start chopping and adding all your stuff into the bowl, and quickly your bowl is at capacity or overflowing, and then you're having to transfer it to another bowl. That means A, you're dirtying 2 things, which is going to be more time washing, and B, it's going to just be a pain. So always use a bigger bowl. I honestly rarely ever use the little bowl out of those. I just essentially always grab the biggest. Then another thing that I like to use when cooking, and these you can cook directly in. You can use them for your meal prep as you're going. But these are essentially your different size hotel pans. This is a 6-inch deep one. This is what we think of as a traditional hotel pan that has a lid. This is my super deep one. What I like to do is when I am cooking, either be it, cooking something on the stove, oven, or especially for the grill. Nice thing too is these all have lips, so you can hold here so you're not burning your hand by holding the bottom of it. I like a nice deep 4-inch deep one for my protein, because protein tends to take up a lot of space. So like this week, I cooked a bunch of grilled chicken and took it down in the marinade bag that I had it in, got it on the grill. Then when it was ready to come off the grill, I was able to fit easily, I think, 8 pieces of chicken, 8 chicken breasts into this, and throw on the lid. And the great thing is a lot of, especially if we store stuff in our fridge in these, you're going to run out of space real fast. Your fridge is going to get cluttered, all that mess. Store stuff in this, you can then slide another pan on top. You can slide other stuff on top as long as you have the lid, and the lid will help keep it fresh, as we know. So again, shorter pans. This one, recipe that I was doing last week is for my veggies, I had asparagus. Just cut the ends off of my asparagus, wash them, made sure they're nice, threw them in here. Then I took whole thing of the cherry tomatoes and put those on the edges, olive oil, my seasoning, threw it right in the oven. And again, you can cook in this, so you don't have to wash it. Then, unless you want to separate out your stuff, you can just leave it in this and pull straight from it. I will say, and again, I don't have this here because this will depend on your personality type. If you know you have a hard time sticking to meal prep, I recommend the day you cook, get yourself containers, prep out all your food in containers, measure everything that you need to your macros that you want. I don't like doing that. It's not my personality. I'm perfectly fine with breaking out my electronic scale every day, setting a plate on the scale, and then from these, again, having like my veggies in these and my meat in this one, pulling it out, cutting off enough that I need to, measuring it, putting it on my plate. And then again, I can store essentially a whole week's worth of protein in this one and veggies in this one right in the fridge. So I don't have to waste a lot of space. You essentially, fridges, again, think a fridge is a box. You want to store stuff in square box type containers. So that goes a long way with containers and a large portion. Oh, in case you do need, again, baking sheets, don't buy the little cheap ones that are easy, scratchy, all that kind of stuff. Get you some good Hardy baking sheets. Highly recommend it. And I do like to have 2 different size ones. Me personally, I have wire racks that also go into them, but again, that's just an extra expense most of you will not need. There. All right. Oh, storage. Again, most stuff you can store in those hotel pans, put it right in the fridge. Different things like sauces. And again, I've put sauce in those and stored them in the fridge. But say you want to freeze something, this little guy. And again, I will put these in the bottom. I have 2 sets of these. These, I believe, are little cup exact measurements, I believe. And then I have one that essentially is the whole square is 2 of these big. When I make spaghetti, I don't know how to make spaghetti for less than 100 people. So I will freeze it in these, and then you can easily just pop this out because they're silicone right into a pan, heat it up. You've got a perfectly portioned protein. You can also, again, so much that you can portion this. This is fridge safe, freezer safe, and actually oven safe, again, because it's silicone. The lid is not, but the silicone part is. Let's see. All right. Again, we're going right along with this quick. If you have any questions, drop them. Now, big things. Again, we want to focus on our protein. It's why I love those hotel pans. They're perfect, easy to clean, easy to store tons of protein in. When it comes to cooking protein, I fought this for the longest time because I just had never done it and I didn't believe in it. And I since changed my life and got my life together. Rice cooker, especially if rice is your like go-to carb. I love a rice cooker. This is Zojirushi, which is kind of expensive. Again, I will link it down in the bottom. Most of your typical rice cookers do just fine. This one just has a lot of options for different things. You can also cook a bunch of stuff. There's tons of channels on here. I believe one is Eating with Kirby. She will even teach you how to cook full meals in your rice cooker, which is amazing. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that. Last little thing, again, knife sharpener for your knife. You always want to keep your knife sharp. As a chef, I've seen the worst knife accidents come, and more knife accidents come from dull knives. Do not let your knife get dull. Keep it sharp. And as a former EMT, keep it sharp because it is a lot nicer cut to deal with than any kind of jagged BS from a very dull knife. So that is, again, the main things. I'll list all these items in the description. And again, I will have links. I'll probably actually in the pinned comment, I will link all of these things into Amazon lists. I don't get paid by Amazon by any of this. For all of these tools that I consider essential, bare minimum, again, some nice hotel pans, good knife, some mixing bowls, and your utensils that you need cooking. I would recommend one set of tongs and two, either like one like true spatula and then one like stirring spatula. From there, another big thing, if you're meal prepping, and your electronic scale, don't forget to measure. Big thing is when you're measuring is to track your measurements. Now, again, this is not sponsored, but this is something I have been using. And so far, I like it better than a lot of the others. Is I have been using an app called Carbon Diet Coach. They have a wonderful app that you can go through and you can plug in all of your food. I find I've used like MyFitnessPal in the past. I find this one to be better. It is a paid app. I think it's $9.99 if you're paying for a month, and a lot cheaper if you pay for a full year. I find that they have more like restaurants and things on there that you can easily search for that, to put that in. And that's going to help you track for your goals. Remember, protein is one of the biggest things, no matter if you're trying to maintain weight, lose weight, bulk, and add muscle. Protein is what you want to hit. You want to hit a protein goal. And that's what I love about the Carbon Diet Coach, is their app has you set your protein goal, and it tracks, and really every week you do a check-in and it talks about that protein goal. Did you hit it every day? Did you track your meals every day? And meal tracking is something so important. I do have a free, and again, it'll be in the links, a free 3-day food diary. I recommend, if you've not started tracking your food that way, that's a great way to really see how much you are eating and putting into your body. I also offer, again, nutrition coaching and stuff, but I have my own, and you can build one, and maybe that'll be in another video, as I just teach you how to build one. But I have my own spreadsheet where I used to track before I started using Carbon Diet Coach. But you can easily track your own macros of how much you're eating of everything. So that would be a good one. There is last big tool would be to have some kind of tracker, be it you write it down somewhere or you use some kind of tracking macros app. All right, I'm going to answer. I did get a few questions from y'all. I'm going to answer a few questions. Again, if you have any yourself, let me know. Question number 1, how many days in advance should I meal prep? Okay, yeah, we'll answer this. So how many days in advance? I mean, it depends on your personal taste. I'm the kind of person, I can eat the same thing all week long. My fiance is not that way, cannot stand to have the same thing for lunch and dinner the same day. Those of you that are that way, meal prepping is going to be harder. You kind of just have to learn to suck it up. I try to meal prep for about 4 days, though, to answer the question. 4 days worth of food. And I typically, when I meal prep, and like this week, again, I'll give you the kebab recipe here in a few. But this week I did a Greek style like salad, and I marinated chicken and just zesty Italian dressing. It was a great marinade for chicken. Put that on the grill, and then I had potatoes with it. And that was kind of my like lunch meal, a little bit lighter. And then my dinner was my kebab meal. So I meal prep 2 different meals for myself, but about 4 days worth is typically what I recommend. And for meal prep and all of this in general, and dieting in general, I highly recommend everyone do an 80-20 kind of recipe or follow 80/20 principle. 80% of the time, be on your diet, track your stuff, make sure you're keeping yourself accountable. 20% of the time, have fun, eat something that you want to eat. I have a date night every Tuesday where I go get whatever it is that we want to eat. Usually it's Thai food. And then typically maybe either Friday night, Saturday lunch, Saturday night, we will eat out or eat something that is not meal prep, but typically about 4 meals a week. Again, just break it down and follow that same 80/20 rule. However many meals you eat in a week, 80% of those meals, you want to be on track with your diet. 20%, you can have fun and not burn yourself out. All right. From there, how do you keep your meals from getting boring or dry? Again, I follow the 80/20. I just went over is what tools are must-haves if I'm new to meal prepping. Again, good storage containers, and you decide whether you can store all in bulk and just bring it out on a plate when you're measuring, or if you need to have individual measurements. That it would be the biggest thing, and then a scale to actually measure. You really cannot get away without having a scale to measure for good meal prep results. Can I meal prep without a kitchen scale or air fryer? Air fryer, yes, absolutely. You do not need one. Same thing again with my rice cooker. You don't need a rice cooker. I cooked it in pot for forever. A kitchen scale, you can. It's going to be a lot more difficult because it's so much better if you know the exact amount of whatever it is that you have on your plate. That's how you truly track your macros that way. How do I know how much protein, fat, carbs to eat per meal? Reach out to me. Again, I will link a nutrition that goes into nutrition more so than meal prep. Essentially, I will tell you this. Protein, good range is between, like, if you're trying to maintain lean muscle mass, between about 1 gram per lean pound of body mass to 1.6. So somewhere in there, 1 to 1.6 grams of protein per lean pound of body mass. Do I have to eat the same thing every day to see results? Absolutely not. And on this too, something else. Stop is too far in our knowledge of food to still say that foods are healthy and unhealthy. All foods are foods. All foods have certain macros. You could get absolutely fit eating junk food. You're not going to probably have the nutrients that you need, so you have to get those through supplements or somewhere else. But if pizza fits within your macros, which sometimes they do, by all means. Again, there's days where I'll eat kind of a weird lunch of going out to eat something and just kind of track my macros and be like, oh, I had a lot more carbs and fats in this meal, so I'll just make more protein and less carbs, less fat in my meal later in the day. That way everything stays balanced. I've kept my macros, and you move on. What is the best way to store and reheat meals? Again, best way to store to me personally is I like the hotel pans or something big like that you can store it in. The great thing too with hotel pans is they don't stain. They're dishwasher safe. Again, they're oven safe. Perfect. Reheating, it's up to you. You can reheat your stuff in an oven. I had a client that refused to ever use a microwave. You can reheat things in a microwave. That's kind of a personal thing. How do I meal prep on a budget? Again, always protein should be your number one. Vegetables really often aren't that expensive, I'll say. Especially like getting a certain amount of vegetables, but then again, carbs can come from potatoes and rice, and those are some of the cheapest things you can find in a grocery store. Are the chicken kebabs freezer friendly? Yeah, I mean, essentially all proteins freezer friendly. But the recipe I'm giving you makes enough. It made 8 kebabs, so 8 meals worth. So that's either lunches and dinners for just you for 4 days. Or again, if you have a partner, that's everyone lunch 4 days a week. One more that I saw that I had on my Instagram. All right. Sorry about that. How to stop cravings. I have a weird thing about cravings. I always say if you crave it, honestly, just go eat it. Don't eat a ton of it. Like for me, I used to get, because I'm not, excuse me, I'm not the biggest sweets person, but once in a blue moon, a Dairy Queen Blizzard, for me, it's the Reese's and the Butterfinger mix. Ugh, one of my most favorite treats. If I wanted that and I didn't go get that, the amount of other crap I would eat trying to satisfy that craving while just eating excess calories versus had I just gone to eat that one thing again. I used to be super strict trying to hit 100% of my meals on target. It's why I say it's not really sustainable. 80-20 rule. 20% of the time isn't going to kill your results. Go have that craving. 80% of the time, stick to it. And then if it's during the time when you're trying to stick to it, just remember, hey, in a day or so, I get to have a cheat meal. I can have it then. So that is kind of that. All right. The last thing that I promised, this one's going over a little bit longer in time than I intended, but your chicken kebab recipe that I really loved. I tried this for the first time this week and I loved it. So I'm going to give y'all the recipe. I will tell it to you now. I'll also include it in the description below. So check there. And if y'all want more meal prep recipes, stuff like this, comment, let me know. So for the minced chicken kebab recipe, we did 2 pounds of ground chicken, or you could use turkey. I actually used turkey in mine because for whatever reason, Costco didn't have ground chicken this week when I was there. 1 large red onion, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, 1 tablespoon of fresh minced parsley, salt to taste, 1 teaspoon black pepper, 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon, not tablespoon, of cumin, 1 teaspoon of red chili flakes. That can be optional if you don't really like anything spicy. And then 3 tablespoons of oil. And essentially you just take all of that, mix it again in your nice large mixing bowl. And where's this? There we go. And then the way they did it that I really love, because I love kebab, but it's such a pain in the ass to get them on a skewer. At least to me, it just takes, again, more time. What they did is they just greased the bottom of their pan. I did put in a little piece of parchment paper and then grease just because I hate cleaning pans, especially stuck on stuff. And then you take that entire mixture, all of the ground everything, right in the pan, flatten it out. And then using your spatula, you just kind of scooted it into making its little kebabs. So I had, again, and this is a small pan, but imagine it's a bigger one. So I had enough that I was able to make 8 kebabs between that 2 pounds they came out to about 150 grams to 175 grams of turkey for me per kebab, which was great. That is something I highly recommend. So again, everything that I listed, the onion was chopped, diced real fine. And then you just mix it all together, slap it down in this pan after it's been oiled. For this, olive oil. A lot of times you do not need olive oil. Mexican food, don't use olive oil, use a neutral oil. But I digress. Then again, you just flatten it out, kind of smash it out so it goes and essentially fills up most of the pan. Leave a little room on each side. And you just use a spatula, or they used a bench scraper in the recipe where I got it from. So you could use that if you know what that is, to again form the little kebab pieces. And I did that again with rice that I cooked in my rice cooker. Took some of the other leftover parsley, threw that in with the rice. And then I made a Greek salad with some lovely tomatoes, red onion, again, because there's red onion in it. So that was easy to use. Tomatoes, red onion, cucumber, bell pepper, olives, feta cheese. Yummy, delicious, healthy meal. But I have talked almost twice as long as I intended to. I figured this one might go a little over. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat below. If you want to learn more, specifically more about the nutrition, that's why this one kind of ran over, is we're balancing nutrition and meal prep. Specifically, comment that and I will do a video talking about nutrition. Again, I'll have tons of links in the description that will have things, and I will link in the pinned comment both the link to all of my meal prep stuff that I use, all the stuff, so you can buy the same thing. Again, I'm not an affiliate of it. I don't get paid for that. This is all stuff that I found on Amazon. And then I will also link, if you are interested, and you know what, I'll say the first 3 people that fill this out and send it to me, if you're interested in some nutrition advice, I'll give you a everyone gets a free consultation, but I'll give you your free first lesson, I guess, with me for nutrition for anyone that signs up. But other than that, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and remember to keep training like a legend. Bye for now, guys.